Understanding cyclic law. Everything you can see, hear or touch, everything you can be aware of in any way, is subject to cyclic law. This means it vibrates at, or responds to, or is moved in a certain definite rhythm. The Earth revolves on its axis every 24 hours, creating day and night. It travels around the Sun every 365 and a quarter days, and this results in the rhythmic changing of seasons. Mountains are raised sharp and clear against the sky, but as the wind and rain and sunlight take their toll, the peaks become rounded hills, and after thousands of years return once again to rolling plains. Trees from small seeds grow large, then wither and die, each in its own time. Everything in the universe, and indeed the universe itself, lives and moves in cycles. No one knows why this is so, but everyone knows that it is so. We are born, grow up, learn, work, play, love, reproduce, and then grow old and die. We human beings have our cycles, but unlike the earth and the plants and the stars, we can control to a large degree the what and when of our existence. We need not be slaves to the things of fate. We have free will. There are those who will dispute this. They say we are forced by circumstance to make what seem to be free choices but are really conditioned reflex actions and are thus determined for us in advance. This is only partly true. There are many decisions from which we cannot escape, but on the other hand we know there are many occasions each day when we are fully capable of taking either road presented. This is not an illusion or self-deception. Looking back on a choice made and observing that it was not to our best advantage, we can, without the slightest restraint, proceed to follow a course directly opposite. This does not deny the man is constantly subjected to tendencies, urges, impulses, inspirations and propitious presentations in the form of opportunities and temptations to good, evil and neutral acts. The same may be said of the cosmic influences which affect human beings in the form of tendencies, but there is no power that forces their acceptance upon man. He is ever free agent to choose between one impulse and another, one inspiration and another, or one temptation and another. But having chosen, he must accept the responsibility for his decision. Even though we accept the fact that man is a free agent with the power of free choice, it is still necessary to consider the nature and source of the impulses, urges and temptations that these come before him and call for him to make a choice. If these diverse opportunities did not present themselves, and if these varying impulses and urges were not occurring each moment, there would be no reason for him to have free choice, nor would he have occasion to reason or to think or to use his will. Of all living things, man alone is unique in the possession of the ability to act freely. But unfortunately, the majority usually choose unwisely, and the salvation and advancement of the human race has been left to a relatively small minority of dedicated, clear-thinking, far-sighted men and women. You can and should be among these leaders. So start now to live in harmony with the law of cycles as I will explain it. Then you will find yourself going through life with the wind at your back. Work in harmony with the cosmic rhythms of your nature. We are all daily faced with the need for recognised decisions in business, in the home, in school. We find ourselves face to face with perplexing problems which could have serious effects on people's future. As these people decide, so they will determine their fate and establish their destiny. But to yield to an inspiration or an impulse or temptation with no other warrant than a judgment based upon analytical reasoning is in most cases like gambling on the toss of a coin. It is impossible for human reason to go beyond the knowledge and the information in the mind of the reasoner, so that even in those rare cases when the reasoning is clear-cut and perfect, the decision may well be wrong because the information was incomplete. However, there are periods or cycles in everyone's life when an urge followed will act towards a successful conclusion, whether the action be a business proposition, a journey, the building of a home, the buying and selling of merchandise, or anything that is created or brought into existence by natural law or the will of man. By working in harmony with the proper periods, the utmost success can be attained. But if one persists in working against them, it is like swimming upstream and usually ends in defeat. You are a free agent. You can work in harmony with the rhythms of your nature or against them. You can thus become master of your fate or a slave to circumstance. Choose. Many people try to ignore the usual in life because they do not understand or cannot learn the logical theory which explains it. It is not too difficult to argue against the possibility of a cosmic rhythm which affects your actions and welfare. One can make quite a case, but do not be too quick to accept mere reason. You may not be in a position of all the facts. You know the story of the ranch hand who encountered for the first time an electrically charged fence. He had seen wire fences all his life. He had built many corrals out of wire, and he felt he knew all there was to know about wire fences. But one day he came to one of those modern corrals, lightly constructed of only a double wire strand. Naturally, he was contemptuous because he couldn't see how it would hold a 22-day-old calf, much less a full-grown steer or horse. The owner warned him not to touch the wire because it was charged. The ranch hand didn't know what this meant, and to show his contempt, he reached out to tear it from a post. Well, you know what happened. The shock knocked him down and scared the wits out of him. Then at last he began to see why the animals in the corral were careful to keep from touching the wire, and to realise that things are not always so simple as they appear to be. So try not to be too much like the cow puncher. All the energy in the universe has a single source. Some call it the cosmic, some the first cause, some call it God. Whatever this source may be, we don't know much about it. We may reason about it, but even the most highly illumined sages do not pretend to know or understand it. When this energy reaches our level, we can begin to comprehend it. The broader and higher our development, the better our understanding. The wise men in all the ages and among all people describe it in such the same way. The ancient Chinese pictured it as a trilogy, the opposites yin and yang, which, when united, form a cosmic circle. The Christian theologians refer to the three persons in God, and the Rosicrucians to the three sides of the triangle. The Hindu seers were more explicit. They said the primary energy divided first into three different energies and then into seven. The ancient Kabbalah of the Hebrews says the same, but in a different way, in its description of the 10 Seraphim, again 3 and 7. Everything in the universe received its primary impulse for existence from one or another of these 7, but it was also subjected to the influence of the millions and millions of ramifications, subtle and gross, of the energies supplied by all 7. The early experimenters in rocket propulsion were frustrated by the apparent inefficiency of this presumably ideal method. They had failed to apply a basic truth and tried to propel their vehicles with the continuous flow of burning fuel, like a skyrocket. What they overlooked is that there is no such thing as a continuous pressure in our universe. When they came to the realization that everything is moved by a repeated impulse, they incorporated that idea into their engine design and succeeded. Our present-day jet planes and rocket moon flights are the result. The law that is true on the human level is also true on the highest level we can imagine. The great Seraphoth, or the great ray, call it what you will, that energized you at your birth, continues to support you with impulses that are characteristic of its own unique quality. Any thought or action of yours that is initiated while this impulsing energy is gaining momentum carries along quite easily towards success, while those begun in a descending cycle are almost always doomed to frustration or failure. You can prove this law yourself by means of a simple experiment. Throw a ball forward while running forward. Note how far it goes, and then throw it forward again with the same energy while standing still or moving backward. See the difference? Once this law was discovered, the Rosicrucians studied it with great interest, but the problem facing them was to learn how to apply it, and this took centuries of study. Now, today, the fruits of those years of effort are available to all. Detailed instruction in the application of cyclic law is part of the Rosicrucian teaching and available only to Rosicrucian students, but the basic principles can be revealed and will be explained to you in this chapter. The cycle of existence. Everything in the world, whether created by nature or by man, has a cycle of existence, distinctly its own. This refers not only to men and mountains, to machines and vegetables, but also to corporations and diseases and even ideas and emotions. All have a definite starting point and a distinctive pulsation or rhythm of existence. These cycles are like lines drawn out for various lengths and divided throughout their length and duration into equal segments. The line of your life can be compared to the line the captain of a ship marks on a chart for the course he intends to follow. An ocean liner going from New York to Gibraltar may take 7 days, so the captain will mark on the line the position he expects the boat to be at the end of each day. But not every day will be the same. The start may be foggy and cold, the next day rough and windy, the third day warmer but with headwinds that slow the boat, the fourth day bright and sunny, and so on. So it can be said that the pulsation or periodicity of the journey is 7 days, each with its own characteristic influences. The journey of life is much like a sea voyage. Each life begins at a certain time and place and is divided into periods like the days of the ocean journey. The average person is not aware of these periods, which present opportunities or obstacles at different times, and is therefore not prepared to meet them until they are in full manifestation. He is then handicapped in resolving them properly by his lack of knowledge of the assisting or hindering tendencies which exist in that period. Not only your life itself, but every enterprise you enter into has cycles which begin at its inception. Thus, the information which follows is of value not only to you personally, but may be applied to your business or any business or organisation or project in which you may take interest. Medical science and the students of biology and physiology agree that human life is divided into a progression of periods of 7 years each. From birth to the age of 7, there is a period of self-discovery in which the growing child learns his relation to the material world and begins to adjust himself to it. From 7 to 14, physical growth and muscular control are important, and although the mind expands, it is a secondary consideration. Towards the end of this period, the distinction between the sexes shows itself. The third period is one of mental as well as physical growth, and the fourth, one growing of spiritual awareness. The fifth is a creative period, and so on. Human beings were designed by the Creator to live for 20½ periods of 7 years each, or about 144 years. Of course, today no one lives that long. In fact, half, or 72 years, is usually considered a good long life, and those who live longer are regarded as exceptional. This shortening of the potential lifespan is the result of man's failure to live according to the laws of nature. But our knowledge and self-discipline are increasing, and human life is gradually lengthening. Most cycles have 7 divisions, like the 7 days of the week, or the 7 notes in a musical octave. There is a reason for this which has to do with the origin of energy itself, but here we have limited space and can consider only the effects and not their cause. There are also cycles of 3, 4 and 12 periods, but those of 7 are most frequent. Your private yearly life cycle. Just as a human life is divided into periods of 7 years, so each year in that life is made up of 7 periods, starting with your birthday. There are 7 periods of approximately 52 days, and each one of these periods provides you with different possibilities, opportunities to be seized or problems to be solved. The calendar year has nothing to do with this cycle. This is your private cycle, and it extends from the day of your birthday in 1 year to the day before your birthday the next. To work properly with your own yearly cycle, get a calendar and, starting with your birthday, count off 52 days. Thus, if you were born on January 5th, circle the date and also circle February 26th, which is the 52nd day. This is your first period. Make a chart of this for the entire year so that you can always tell at a glance in what period you are. When you have done this, write or type the following and keep it so that you can always have easy access to it.